Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So behind everything that happens, there is a cause. So I very recently heard, just today only, when devotee was saying that in Bangladesh, after all this thing that has happened, thousands of devotees have come on the road and they are doing Sankirtan in a loud way. As a reaction to what has happened, not only Hare Krishna devotees, but even people who never chanted Hare Krishna have come onto the street and they are joining the parade and they are chanting loudly, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So let us welcome and praise Chaitanya Charan over 3 loud and Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So I had requested Prabhuji to give the Sunday feast class. Prabhuji has been traveling all sides of the city now. Prabhuji is coming from Abbott. And I had requested, what would you want to speak today? I mean, what is going on here? So I told we did out of the Katha here. So Prabhuji said, today is a birthday, Prabhuji. She's grabbing attention. It is the first birthday. Everybody tell happy birthday, Jai Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna to Akshaya Mataji. Jai Shri Krishna. Okay, now she becomes there. Very good, very good. Yeah, so Prabhuji said he is going to speak about Jagannath Katha today. Some insights of Jagannath Katha, so that we all will start preparing for the next Katha from now only. That is good. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashakadeshakarine Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Vipasindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
May Lord Jagannath please guide us as we try to dive deep into your glories and increase our appreciation and attraction of you and your wonderful pastimes. Hare Krishna. So, as those of you who have heard my classes previously know, I like to analyze things. So, whenever Hare Krishna. Is it audible? Yes. Consistently, okay. So, sorry?
Said analyze things.
Yes, okay, I remember that. Okay. So even when I was to hear pastimes previously, so I used to feel very intellectually unemployed. So that's when I started looking at pastimes from different perspectives. So I started looking at Acharya's commentaries. I started looking also from 2014. I have been focusing a lot on Western outreach. So I also started seeing how other traditions they present themselves to the contemporary world. And I found among all the traditions, Christianity is the best in presenting themselves. So I looked at how some of the stories from Jesus' life, how do they present it? Because even they have their boundaries. You cannot concoct a completely new story. They have their own tradition of commentaries and other things. But by observing, I realized that there are many different ways in which you can approach the pastimes. So our acharyas have given us insights into the pastimes, and we come from a contemporary world. So we have our way of thinking. So what I'll be doing is I try to take an analytical approach. Why is it going up and down? Hare Krishna. Sorry? No, I don't think that is the cause. It's right in front of you only. So, take this out. Hare Krishna, is this better?
Yes.
Thank you. So, I'll be looking at the Jagannath pastime from the perspective of what are the various elements within it and how they came about. And when I started studying this, trying to piece all this together, it was fascinating. Now, I know what I was going to speak today, many of these things you know, but the way they come together, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, putting the pieces together. So I'll be putting this together in the form of acronym FAME. The fame of Lord Jagannath. So fame refers to, we talk about four things. See, in the Rath Yatra, there is the form of the Lord. So we look at how the form of the Lord manifested. Then we will look at the activity. The activity of not just the Lord going on a cart, but we pulling the cart. Then we will look at the mood in which this has been done, and the mood in which we can learn to do it. And finally, we'll talk about the extent, how it has spread across the world, and how we have had the opportunity to become a part of it. How the Lord's pastimes are not just something that happened historically, they're also happening now. That ongoing dimension we'll discuss. So, let's begin one by one. So if you consider the Rath Yatra, this is all things, okay. The most important is the Lord and the form of the Lord. Now, Ravindra Sarupro writes in one of his essays that he was in Philadelphia, he was the leader over there, and he told of one devotee that in America, Prabhupada introduced the Jagannath deities. And when the Jagannath deities were introduced, it was in San Francisco. Now, at that time, Prabhupada had not yet started commenting on the Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji. So, in his books, see the first canto, second canto, Prabhupada doesn't talk much about Jagannath. In the Bhagavad Gita also, there's no mention of Jagannath at all. Right? So, there's one devotee who writes a letter to Prabhupada saying, Prabhupada, I have been worshipping the deities very carefully as you have instructed us to. I just have one question. Can I know who is it that I am worshipping? Why? Because what happens is they knew about Krishna, but in one sense Krishna and Jagannath look utterly dissimilar. So there is no similarity. So, okay, we know about Krishna, but who is this Jagannath? So where is this particular form? Who is this deity? So it was like, we didn't know Jagannath, we just knew Prabhupada, and Prabhupada wanted us to worship, so we were worshipping the deity. It was like that. So when I will talk about the form, we'll talk about the form at two levels, like the original manifestation of the form, like when Krishna manifested the form. And the second is when the form manifested as a deity. So two levels. Like Krishna appears in this world, and as far as the historical record goes, the first deity of Krishna was established by Vajrana, his grandson. So, like that. So, we'll look at it at both levels. So, now Krishna has a Shyam Sundar form. His form is described in many places in the Brahma Samhita, in the Bhagavatam, Bharva, Pidam. Many beautiful verses describing his form. The gopis describe it, Prahasitam, Priya Prema, Vikshanam. So now the same Krishna came from Vrindavan to Mathura and then to Dwarka. When he came to Dwarka, at that time, in his heart, he was always longing to be in Vrindavan, to be with the Brajavasis. And he could not go back because he did not want to endanger the Brajavasis. He also could not go back because the Yadus were very afraid that if Krishna goes there, he will never come back with us. They were always afraid that Krishna has this special bond with the Brajavasis. And they just wanted somehow to make Krishna forget that. It was out of their love for him only. They wanted that Krishna be with us and Krishna never go away from us. So they hardly ever encouraged Krishna to talk about Vrindavan. And not only that, they disapproved of it when he would talk. And they would themselves never talk about it. So in every story, there is, so for the story to advance, for the story to have some excitement, some suspense. The last time I told, if there is no tension, then there is no attention. So, so we need tension. So the way Gopal Champu and Jiva Goswami describe this, it's almost like the Yadus are cast slightly as villains. Not entirely, but Yadus, they are discouraging Krishna from talking about Vrindavan, from remembering Vrindavan. And this is sometimes happens with children who remember their past lives also. Like often when we talk about children remembering their past lives, and we use for example as evidences of reincarnation, then people ask, oh, does this mean if those children have memories, is it that it happens only to them? Is only some special people reincarnate? Or if everyone reincarnates, then why do only some people remember? Why only so few people remember? And one argument is that why is it that only it is people who believe in reincarnation, their children remember? People who disbelieve in reincarnation, their children don't remember. Now, it's not the case. There are cases of Christians who don't believe in reincarnation, their children also remembering. There are some cases even of Muslim kids remembering. But it is relatively much rarer, much less frequent. So now one reason for that is what is called as childhood suppression of memories. See, if a child exhibits some behavior which the parents don't like, and the parents strongly disapprove of it, then, unless the child is very rebellious, the child starts not exhibiting that behavior. But sometimes the child just insists on doing it. There are documented cases of saying some Muslim child remembers reincarnation, remembers some previous life. We are talking about that. So then, in their idea, it is like Shaitan has possessed this boy. Some Satan has possessed that boy, and they get their mullahs to do some kind of exorcism. They try to do their own rituals to try to get the ghost out of it, Satan out of it. Then they have that idea that they put the child on a wheel. You know, normally if you see in our tradition, we do parikrama in a particular way. It is clockwise. See, if you see in Islamic traditions, they go around, it's anti-clockwise. If you go to the Middle East also, in their paths, you go around walking. So we go one way, they go another way. So their idea is that, so the anti-clockwise is the sacred thing in their tradition. So they will have the child put on a potter's wheel, and the wheel is rotated very, very fast in a clockwise direction. The kid is on that. The kid faints and the kid throws up at that time. But their idea is that by this rapid whirling, then by that the devil will go out of the body of the child. So now for us it seems ridiculous, but it just, we are giving this as an example that for them, the belief in reincarnation is such a unacceptable belief that the parent is ready to put their child through all this. So this is the effect of childhood suppression of memories. And in spite of that, there are times when children still express, and then the parents just have to throw up their hands. Okay, what is it? Let's explore something. So rather than asking why do so few children remember past life memories, we should be asking that, and in spite of so much suppression, how is it that even so many children remember? That itself is amazing. Now in the Christian tradition, there's not such suppression, but still there is definitely disapproval. It's not something that is very easily accepted. So basically, there is childhood suppression which has a strong effect. Now, of course, Krishna would never forget Vrindavan, but he practically would never talk about Vrindavan. And he could only talk about this with Balram, he could talk a little bit with Uddhav, he could talk a little bit about it with Rohini, and even with the Pandavas. The Pandavas had their own troubles. So Krishna and Arjuna would talk about various things. They had a very sweet friendship. But it's not that Krishna and Arjuna were talking about the Vrajavasis. But there's no reference for that particular relationship. So Krishna had practically no one to talk with about Vrindavan. And he could not talk about Vrindavan. Nobody around him would talk about Vrindavan also. But finally, after Krishna had become settled, say he had got married, he had children, and then even then the Dwarkavasis would see now that any time, even a slight reference of Vrindavan comes, Krishna just becomes so transformed. If we talk about someone we really care for, respect, love, then what happens? By talking about them, usually our face brightens up, our eyes brighten up. It shows out all our expressions. So they could say that even a slight reference of Vrindavan would bring Krishna so much joy. So finally, it was finally for the Dwarkavasis, a stage came when their attitude towards Vrindavan and Krishna in Vrindavan basically, it changed. Initially it was insecurity. Now they were causing separation, not that separation of the memories, not because they didn't like Krishna or they didn't like Vrajavasis. They were afraid that Krishna will leave us and go away. But from that insecurity, their attitude changed to curiosity. That what is it about Vrindavan that attracts Krishna so much that after so many years, he's still talking about it and he's still remembering it. So, Rukmini and Satyabhama and the queens would talk sometimes. In his sleep, Krishna mentions the Vrajavasis. Krishna remembers them. So then finally, they decide, still, we want to be a little careful. We don't want Krishna to hear about it. But we want to know more. So after many, many years, the Dwarkavasis ask Rohini, tell us, what is so special about Vrindavan? Why is Krishna so attracted towards Vrindavan? What did the Vrajavasis do for him? We love him, we care for him, we offer our everything to him. And still, he's still remembering the Vrajavasis. So what is so special about Vrajavasis? And then Rohini starts speaking. But before they start speaking, the Dwarkavasis say, we don't want Krishna to hear. So they tell Subhadra, you stand at the door and be guard so that Krishna doesn't hear you. We don't want Krishna's mind to get agitated as strategy. But at least we want to know. And when Rohini starts speaking, and then Dwarkavasis get entranced. Now, while they have fear that Krishna will go away from them, but at the same time, they also have love for Krishna. And naturally, they have love for those who have love for Krishna. So, love is a very complicated thing in some ways. That when we love someone and then someone else loves that person. So, either there can be bonding between the two people or there can be jealousy between the two people. There can be insecurity and jealousy. So, till earlier, it's almost like jealousy. Oh, why does Krishna care so much for them? But as they start hearing about the Braj pastimes, it's a completely new dimension of Krishna they are hearing. Because they have never seen Krishna as a child. They have never heard about Krishna is doing all these activities in such an intimate way. They just know a little bit about it, but not much. And they are captivated, they are mesmerized. Now this tension that is there, although Krishna is God, and Krishna can manifest himself to be everywhere at the same time. But generally speaking, in his Leela, Krishna does not do that. So, once in a while, when two people ask him to come at the same time to do different places, then he expands in two forms. It happens in Shrutadeva and Bahulashva, isn't it? That both of them ask him to come and he goes expand in two forms. But generally he doesn't do that. So Krishna is in Vrindavan, from there he goes to Mathura. And we have this predicament even in Kunti's heart. And she's thinking, Krishna, you're going away from us. But we need you. There's always danger over here. One after another danger comes. Right now we saw. We thought the war is over, all dangers are gone. And right now this Brahmastra came to kill the womb of Uttara. So how can you go away? But then she starts thinking, Dwarkavasis are also longing for Krishna. And I'm related with them also. And I care for them also. So therefore, she says, Ataha sneha pasham vimamchina. So please cut off my attachments. That and let your will happen. Let my consciousness only flow towards you. Just as the Ganga flows towards the ocean. Whether you are present or whether you are absent. Let my consciousness just flow towards you. So that is like a similar attitude the Dwarkavasis. Yes, we just want to know more about Krishna. Whether he is with us or not with us. Now when this is happening, Krishna, he is somewhere else in Dwarka. But by his mystical ability, he's so eager to hear about Vrindavan that he immediately thinks something's going on, something special is over here. It's like, for all of us, say if we really like someone or we really dislike someone, if their name comes up in any conversation, okay, what are they talking about? Immediately our ears go up. Strong emotion often leads to an increase in attention. So Krishna hears and Krishna comes rushing back. And Balaram also comes with him. And Subhadra is also caught in hearing about Krishna and she loses track. She's supposed to keep guard, but she also turns and she's hearing. And Krishna and Balaram come and they also start hearing. And they stand on two sides of Subhadra. And then, because they are so absorbed in hearing, that ecstasy of hearing leads to a transformation in the bodily form itself. And generally, say if we hear something amazing, then that is shown in an expression. Say our eyes become big. If our eyes become small and we go to sleep, then someone says, oh, I'm hearing so attentively. Well, you're attentively trying not to hear. So the idea is that they were trying very much to. So Krishna's eyes become very wide. And say sometimes you want to hear, there is this word, pin drop silence. What it means is so much utter silence that there's absolutely no sound at all. So for Krishna, he's hearing, and it's not just the joy of just hearing about the Brajvasis. It is also the joy that the Dwarkavasis are appreciating the Brajvasis. It's like say if we have two parts of our family, or two groups in our family, and there is tension between them. Then there is a part of us which is split, which is torn. And if we come to we see that there's a reconciliation happening, there's an understanding, it gives us so much joy. So similarly for Krishna to see that the Dwarkavasis are appreciating the Brajvasis, that itself is so basically there are three things: the ecstasy that transforms Krishna into Jagannath. Krishna becomes Jagannath. So basically it is just hearing about Vrindavan. That itself is ecstatic. But along with that, hearing about Vrindavan in Dwarka, that is a place where it's like always forbidden to hear. Is it like how was mentioned, Lilananda was mentioning, Harinam Kirtan happens everywhere. But if we hear about Harinam Kirtan happening in Bangladesh, where we think it is forbidden nowadays, so it brings greater joy. So hearing about Krishna in Dwarka, that is special. And hearing about Vrindavan in Dwarka with the Dwarkavasis appreciative of it. So that is especially joyful for us. So that just brings so much joy to Krishna's heart that not only does his facial expressions change, but his entire body changes. So say sometimes if somebody is restless, somebody has something ADHD, they are sitting and hearing, they just can't sit and hear. They have to move their hand, they have to move their hands, they have to move their legs, they have to do something. That's restlessness. But suppose we just want to focus, then what happens is we just want
Nothing should be a distraction. So my hands will be at one place, my legs will be at one place. No part of my body should take my attention. So in that, the ecstasy becomes so much that actually the limbs of the body, they withdraw into the body, so that there will no longer be any distraction. So generally speaking, the example of the kurma is given. Kurmo angani va sarvashah. That the tortoise withdraws its limb into the body so that it will be protected. In that, generally, that is protection from any threat. So now that same example is given in the Bhagavad Gita, that to protect ourselves from the threat of temptation. For most people, when temptation comes, their senses extend outward. Oh, more! I want to see more. I want to experience this more. But we yanisha sarabhuta, we draw them inside. So that we are not agitated by temptation, so that we are not even subjected to the temptation as much as possible. So like that, every limb can be a distraction, and thus the limbs of his body disappear into the body. But they disappear to different degrees for the different deities, but that is where, in the ecstasy of Vrindavan, Krishna changes to Jagannath. So basically, Jagannath is Krishna in ecstatic separation from Vrindavan, and specifically, ultimately, is from Radharani. Vrindavan, there are great devotees. The greatest among them is Radharani. And then later on we'll talk about this. Now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually Radharani in ecstatic separation from Krishna. So it is Radha Bhava Diti Suvalita. So, and their union that happens is the Jagannath Rath Yatra, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dances in front of Jagannath. So that mood will come to, but this is Krishna. Krishna is ecstatically transformed by remembrance of Vrindavan, by utter immersion in Vrindavan. We know in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes also there is this bodily transformation that happens. There are various degrees of bodily transformations. So that is, see, sometimes basically the effects of absorption can be many. One effect of absorption is when a person just becomes oblivious to the rest of the world. It's like if there's a very immersive class, there's some very immersive kirtan, then we forget that we are in Hyderabad, we forget that we are in Gachibowli. We feel as if we are transported to the place where the pastimes are happening. So basically, we become oblivious to that place. That is effect at the level of consciousness. Attention gets transferred. But sometimes, when we enter so much into that pastime, that the effect starts manifesting even at the level of our body. So sometimes when we get very immersed in a pastime and say there is some great emotional trauma, then maybe tears may come from our eyes, or there's some excitement, then our heart will start thudding. So basically, those physical symptoms indicate that it's even greater immersion. Now, in the case of Mahaprabhu, it is described as sometimes he would also take the kurma, and sometimes his arms would become extremely elongated. It would appear as if his joints are hanging just by the skin. So it's described what would happen is, when he would experience the presence of Krishna, he's uniting with Krishna. At that time, all his limbs would go within, so that he could fully focus his consciousness on Krishna. And when he would see Krishna, and then Krishna would seem to run away or disappear. Like Krishna would play, Krishna would suddenly appear from behind a tree, and then disappear. Krishna would be running away, then his arms would stretch out fully to somehow reach to Krishna and to catch Krishna. So that's how those ecstatic transformations in his form will occur. So when the Shastras describe Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam, there are many, many forms. So these different forms manifest because the Lord has different moods in his relationship with his devotees. Yad yad dhiya durugaya vibhavayanti tattadva praniyase sadanugrahaya. To bestow mercy on the devotees, the Lord manifests in the form that the devotee's heart aspires for. So this happens. So that means the Lord's forms are eternal, but eternally they are manifested in many ways to facilitate the reciprocation of love. Sometimes it is a devotee's emotion that can transform the Lord's form. This happens, say, when Gopal Bhatta Goswami has Shaligram Shila, and a he wants to dress and decorate and beautify the deities, and then the Shaligram Shila transforms into Radha Raman deity, Radha Raman Devi. So that means that the transformation of the Lord's form, it can happen from the Lord's emotion, and it can also happen from the devotee's emotion. So Jagannath originally manifests in this form because he is transported and transformed both by hearing about Vrindavan pastimes. So that's the original form. Now the question comes, how does the deity manifest? So that itself is a large, long story. Most of us know the story, but I'll focus on some principles. This is the story of Maharaj Indradyumna. Now there's a long backstory of Nilamadhav being there, and the tribals worshipping the Lord. But we'll not go into that at this particular point. So now, Indradyumna Maharaj, he gets this through various paranormal intervisions and interventions and everything. He gets this sacred log, and that log, from there the deity has to manifest. Now, this is a very, very responsible task. And then a special sculptor appears. It is said that who is the sculptor? Vishwakarma. So when he comes, at that time, he has his own conditions. Now, somebody really has to be expert to put conditions to the king. Isn't it? So he says that when I am working, then nobody should interfere. Nobody should knock. Nobody should question. Nobody should come in. I want to be completely immersed in the making of the deities. So traditionally, actually, manifestation of the deity was not just an act of craftsmanship. It was an act of devotion. Now today, not everybody may do that, but those who are still traditional Shilpakas with Bhakti, they actually immerse themselves in a devotional mood, and they pray, and then they start doing the work of sculpting the deities. So when when he goes inside, and he's given a comfortable room to work in the king's palace, and he's working, and he's working, and he's working, and he doesn't come out, he doesn't give any reports, and king can't go in, it just goes on and on for days. And then at least the king is hearing the sounds of the sculpting going on, some hammering, some grinding, some cutting, but then those sounds also stop. And then he starts getting worried, what's happening? What's happening over here? So the king is torn apart by anxiety. You know, we are building, say we are building a temple. And then if we are building a temple, we are giving the contract to someone. You know, we'll want to go every day or every week periodically to see what is happening. If the temple contractor says that, you should not come here at all, don't interfere. And you will say, I am sponsoring everything, I am paying you. I have a right to see what is going on. So I want to know. But the king wants to respect him. This artisan is a great artisan, and I want to respect. But he's torn apart. You know, one of my friends is a writer. He has a very busy life. He has a large family. So I asked him, how do you write? How do you make time to write? So he says that in my home I have a room, and I have a notice outside. He said, whenever I'm writing, I lock the door, there's a notice. So I am writing now. If anybody disturbs me, with all humility, I will break their legs. So sometimes when you have to do serious work, you have to put boundaries. So now he wants to give the artisan his space, but how long? There's no sound being heard at all. And he's torn. What should I do? Should I go in? Should I not go in? It goes on for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. There's no sound at all. It goes on for days and finally he says, I just can't stop. I have to find out what's happening. And then he opens the door and goes in, and then he finds that artisan has disappeared. And there are deities which are semi-formed. At least to him, this seems to be like the work has been done half. And he starts lamenting, what did I do? Why was I so foolish? And he tries to call the artisan, but he's gone, just not there at all. Actually, I was so hasty. Because of my impatience, now the Lord will not manifest. He starts berating himself because of that. Like say, imagine we are wanted to make some special design in our temple, maybe a special sculptor only can do it. And somehow there is some argument, the sculptor goes away. And nobody else has that skill to do that kind of sculpting work. Then people feel that way. So he feels like that. And at that time, Brahmaji manifests. And Brahmaji says that actually this is the form of the Lord. But Indraju says, this doesn't look like a form. This looks something very different. I never heard of the form like this. He says, no, this is a special form of the Lord. And then Brahmaji tells about Jagannath Katha. So even Indraju Maharaj, who is devoted to the Lord and who is himself a great king, who is obviously not ignorant, but even for him, the form of Jagannath was a mystery. But when he understands and when he accepts that, oh, this is how the Lord's form is to be manifested. So he accepts that. And then he establishes that in the Jagannath temple in Jagannath. He's the king of that area. So now here, sometimes we make mistakes. Or it is, sometimes we make something other than mistakes. Most of the time we make mistakes. But whatever it is, sometimes if we make mistakes, it may seem as if all these mistakes are so terrible, everything is ruined. But Krishna's plan can manifest even through our mistakes. So you can say Jagannath, Vrindadu's mistakes are of a different caliber. So our mistakes generally are not Krishna's plan. I cannot make a mistake and say, oh, it is all Krishna's plan. But Krishna's plan can work even through our mistakes. Krishna's plan is expert enough to work even through our mistakes. That's why even if you make a mistake, we should never become hopeless. Yeah, we don't want to make mistakes, but we need to have faith that no mistake is fatal. No mistake is such that Krishna will be thrown out of Krishna's plan. Krishna will find some way to keep things moving onwards. So we know that story when Draupadi had that Akshay Patra. And Duryodhana arranged for Durvasa to come after Draupadi had taken the wheel. And then Draupadi prayed to Krishna, where are we going to get food from? Please help me. And sometimes what happens, we pray, and after prayer, the situation seems to become worse. Like Draupadi prays to Krishna and Krishna comes. And Draupadi is about to tell her problem to Krishna, and Krishna says, oh Panchali, I am very hungry, do you have some food? Now, she has a problem and now she has a bigger problem. First, she cannot feed the sages and now she cannot feed Krishna also. And Panchali doesn't know what to say. So she says, Krishna, I have no food. That's why I called you. She says, okay, you just go and see. Something might be there. Then she goes and sees that on the Akshay Patra, there's just a tiny shark is there, a little bit morsel of vegetables. And she goes and says, this is all that I have, Krishna. And says, okay, give it to me. And Krishna takes it and eats it. And as soon as he eats it, all the sages, they feel their stomachs completely full. Now normally we focus on this aspect of the pastime, Yasmin Tushta, Jagat Tushta. That's wonderful. To focus on that pastime, that aspect. But another aspect we focus is, see, this is not an ordinary plate for Draupadi. Normally, any home, After the meal, we'll wash the plates and keep. But if we have special plate, say which we use for special guests or special occasions, maybe it's made of silver or gold or some other special material, then we'll keep it even more carefully. We'll wash it and keep it very clean. This Akshay Patra was the most important of the utensils that they had. And actually, they would wash and keep it very carefully. So some of the one or two maids, they insisted on coming with Draupadi. They were so faithful to her. They said, Draupadi is going to go to exile. They said, we won't be able to pay you anything. She said, no, we just want to be with you. We don't want to be here with those who have treated you like this. So they came. So it was probably one of the maids who messed up and didn't clean the plate properly. But so that you could say at one level it was a mistake. But Krishna's plan worked even through that mistake. Now that doesn't mean we keep our utensils unclean and say this is Krishna's plan. So Krishna's plan can work even through our mistakes. And that's why the most important thing is that we stay connected with Krishna. That we don't let our mistakes disconnect us from Krishna. So this is how the form manifests in Jagannath Puri in the temple. So this is the history of the form. So what is the acronym we are discussing? Faith. So now we'll talk about the A was, you remember? So activity. Now the activity has multiple parts to it. The activity has broadly just coming out, the Lord coming out of the deity, coming out of the temple. Then there's coming out on the Rath. And then the Rath being pulled. So let's look at each of these one by one. Now at one level, the deity is coming out and the deity is going on in the Rath, going out in the Rath. That is not uncommon. That is a part of the tradition. That normally the people go to the temple to take darshan of the Lord. But there are some people who cannot go, there are some people who may, because of physical ailments, or they do not want to go because they're not interested. But the Lord is interested in them. And the Lord wants to bless them. So the Lord coming out of the temple has multiple moods. There are mainly two things. There is His mercy, but it is also His majesty. Majesty means He is the Lord, He is the King. And as the King, He is surveying His territory. Like in some of our temples, we may see that every morning we have Prabhupada's deity. Prabhupada also comes to take darshan. And then sometimes you want to do a parikrama taking Prabhupada around. So the idea is, this is Prabhupada, this is your temple. You have instituted this temple. And how Krishna is being worshipped, we want to show you around it. You can see it. So it is both His mercy for reaching out to those people who don't come to Him, but also His majesty that He is in control. So both reasons are there for the Lord to come out. And then the Lord comes out in a Rath. That's just out of part of His majesty. Then there are, in different traditions and different temples, they may have different vahanas. Sometimes the Lord comes out in the Garud Vahan, sometimes He comes out in swan. Especially if it's a boat festival, then there are beautiful shapes in which He goes out in the rivers. So the idea of the Lord coming out in chariot is very much a part of His majesty. But specifically, if we consider Jagannath, and now what we associate this is with the gopis. So the Rath being pulled, we associate that with the gopis of Vrindavan and their mood. So now that is a bit curious, because in Vrindavan there are no Raths. Vrindavan is a place where they have bullock carts. So even when Krishna moves, Krishna for the first 5 years of his life stays in Gokul. And then because there are too many accidents and too many demons coming over there, so they decide to relocate. That's when they come to Vrindavan. So when they move from one place to another, that is the Krishna is a small child. So Krishna and Mother Yashoda, Krishna, Mother Yashoda's lap, and Balaram on Rohini's lap. They both sit on a huge bullock cart, and then they are drawn across the villages. So at night when they have to sleep, they form like an array of bullock carts, like a defense. So the idea is, in Vrindavan there are no chariots, there are bullock carts. So used for transportation. So with Krishna Lila, especially Krishna Lila in Vrindavan, how does the image of chariot get associated with it? Now, so here what we are doing is this idea of pulling a chariot. So how does that get associated with Jagannath? And how does that get associated with the idea of gopis pulling? So I'm coming to that now. Now we know that this is about Kurukshetra many years later. So I'll come to that pastime shortly. But what happens is the Brajvasis are living. There are no chariots over there. And then while Krishna is growing up, there's the first chariot that comes over there. And some people, there's the stuff, somebody says, this is the stuff of my dreams. Somebody, this is the stuff of my nightmares. So for the gopis, that chariot becomes the stuff of their nightmares. So in that chariot, what happens? Akrura comes and he takes Krishna away. And the gopis, among everyone else, it is the gopis who realize that if Krishna goes, Krishna will not come back. That's their great, great fear. And Nanda Maharaj, his concern is, the king is called, we should go, we cannot avoid. Yashoda, I think that Krishna is a child, he wants to go, he wants to see the big city, he'll see and come back. So he doesn't even know anyone over there. How is he going to stay there? He will come back. So, although there's a little fear that Krishna is going away, there's not that much fear that Krishna will not come back. Now, the gopis think that Krishna is young, Krishna will go to house of Mathura, he will see all the wonderful things, go out of Vrindavan to Mathura, see all the wonderful things over there, and he will want to stay there, he will forget us. He will not come back. So they have that very great premonition. They feel that something terrible is going to happen. And that whole night they are talking. They're talking with each other. Then they go and talk with Nanda Maharaj. They talk with Shuddhamai. And they try to get Krishna to talk with Nanda Maharaj. And they try to explain to everyone, Krishna leaving Vrindavan will be a catastrophe. Please don't let it happen. But what happens is that nobody seems to take them seriously. It is, we are disturbed about something, and then we tell someone about it. And that person doesn't take us seriously. And what happens? First we are disturbed, and now we are disturbed that the other person is not disturbed. Isn't it? So, why don't you understand? And when nothing natural, normal works, then the gopis, they started praying to the devatas. Please let there be rains. Please let there be some kind of storm. Please, some natural, supernatural intervention happen, and Krishna not be able to go out of Vrindavan. So it's like saying India is losing an important match, people start praying, rains come, let the match get wiped out. So now the gopis pray, and nothing happens. And then finally, they see Krishna ascending the chariot. And then they say, enough is enough. Enough of the background efforts. Now we have to come out in the open. Visruchana jam rudu sismaram. So the gopis, they are living in a traditional society and they are not married to Krishna. So for young women to directly show their affection for a young man is not something socially approved at that time. So the gopis are always discreet about their interaction with Krishna. And here they start thinking, what is the use of our reputation of modesty if our very life Krishna goes away? So they come out and they beg to Krishna to stop. And they say, Krishna, if you don't stop, then they lay themselves down in front of the chariot. And they say that if you are going Krishna, we will take our life. Better you literally take our life. Let the chariot go over our bodies. So Krishna gets off the chariot. And Krishna promises them, I will come back. I will surely come back. And he pacifies them. The gopis, somehow, although their heart is filled with fear, they accept Krishna's words. And then they let him go. But he's standing frozen as they watch the chariot taking their life and their heart throb away from them. They keep watching till the chariot just become like a tiny blob and then disappears into the horizon. And every day that Krishna doesn't come back, they are reminded of Krishna, especially the last moments of Krishna. They are reminded of the chariot that took Krishna away and that took their life away from them. So finally, after many, many years, the gopis are reunited with Krishna. That is in Kurukshetra. When everyone goes at the time of a solar eclipse to bathe over there. The Pandavas come from Hastinapur, the Dwarkavasis come from Dwarka, and the Brajvasis come from Vrindavan. And at that time, the gopis see Krishna, and Krishna talks with the gopis, and the gopis talk with him, but it's just not the same. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, rasa or emotion is described as a composite result of multiple factors. It is not just the people involved. It's along with the people, there's an ambience. So when that ambience is created, then the emotion is maximized. That's why whenever there are movies or dramas, there will be some dialogue, there will be some action, but then there's a background music. The music enhances the emotion. Then there will be some settings, background settings. Then those increase the emotion. So we will call all these as props or special effects or whatever. So there is an ambience which enhances the emotion. So for the gopis, they see Krishna dressed in Aishwarya Bhav with weapons and with armor, with crown, and they just feel this is Krishna, but this is not our Krishna. It's they want to relate with Krishna as they know him, as they love him, and therefore they want to take Krishna back, and they want Krishna to come back to be with Vrindavan. They say, Krishna, we love to see you wearing a peacock feather as your crown, not this bejeweled crown. We love to see you not wearing these jewel necklaces. We love to see you. Gale sohi Chaitanya Mala. We love to see you simple flower garland. We love to see you not wearing these royal robes, but just the pitambar, the yellow cloth which you wear. Krishna, we want you to come back to Vrindavan. And then their mood at that time is a chariot took our life away from us. Say, Krishna, we will bring you back on that chariot. So they mentally visualize that they see Krishna on the chariot, and their eagerness to get Krishna to come is so great that they don't wait for any horses to come. Pulling the chariot is not an easy thing. And the gopis are often referred to as Abala. Abala could sometimes be a generic reference to women. But specifically, the gopis are not said to be like physically power Amazon-like women. Isn't it? They are cowherd women. So for them to say that we are going to pull the chariots, that just shows their desperate love. Now, suppose some guest comes to our house and the guest has some luggage. We want the guests to come to our house, maybe we have some attendant, we have some helpers, they come and take the luggage. But if you're so eager that the guests come to our house, and even if the luggage is very heavy, I say, I'll carry it, just give it to me. Just come quickly to her. So the gopis are so desperate that Krishna come, the gopis say, we will pull your chariot. So it is the gopis are pulling the chariot, not just with the labor of their hands, they're pulling it with the love of their hearts. And that it is Krishna, but the gopis don't want Krishna to come reluctantly. They want Krishna to come because Krishna wants to come. Because love cannot be forced. Their concern is Krishna still loves us. Does Krishna still want to come to Vrindavan with us? And when they talk with Krishna and Krishna expresses his love for them, expresses his sweet memories about his times with them, then they become persuaded. Krishna has not forgotten Yes. Krishna wants to be with us also. Then they say, Krishna, please come. So in the gopis' vision, it's certainly Krishna whom they are putting on the chariot. But historically, on the chariot, Jagannath is there. Why Jagannath? Because Jagannath is Krishna longing for Vrindavan. So that is the form that is symbolized, that is depicted on the Jagannath card. So the idea of the gopis pulling Krishna back and Krishna being eager to come back. The gopis' eagerness is shown by their act of pulling the chariot. And Krishna's eagerness is shown through Krishna manifesting in the form of Jagannath. And because Krishna has intimate associates, Balramji has always been with him. Balramji is practically the only person apart from Rohini who's there with Krishna in all his places. And of course, Krishna's present time spent with Balram is more than with Rohini also. Because when Krishna goes to Gurukul, Rohini doesn't come with him. When Krishna goes to fighting, Balram comes, not Rohini. So Krishna and Balram are there. Now Subhadra, she comes because she is just so amazed by the love of the Rajvasis. Just wants to know about it. So she also wants to come. So Subhadra has a special flavor. Subhadra, I think, is an entirely different story, but I won't go to that. We are focusing on Jagannath right now. But Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra, that mood comes in. And the chariot is basically to symbolize that the very thing that had taken the hopes of the gopis away, that very thing will bring their hope and life back to Vrindavan. Sometimes if a person is traumatized by something, then often they are told that whatever it is that has traumatized you, you need to re-experience that and link that with a positive memory. Otherwise, you cannot keep avoiding it forever. So maybe somebody was caught in an explosion site and there was a bomb blast. And now whenever there is a loud sound, they start collapsing. Now they can try to live very carefully and never have any loud sounds around them. And sometimes that's required. But eventually, they need to be able to break the mental link. In their mind, a loud sound is linked with explosion and death and destruction. So what they need to do is change that mental link. Associate that loud sound maybe with firecrackers at the time of celebration. Maybe somebody's birthday, somebody's wedding, some other happy occasion, some festival. And when that mental link is re-established, then that trauma ends. So in the sense, the gopis wanting to take Krishna, not just take Krishna back, but take Krishna on a chariot. So it's like that the chariot symbolizes that the closure of the trauma. The gopi, of course, the gopis' emotions are transcendental completely, but we can get some understanding of those emotions by looking at similar situations in our lives. So that's how the act of pulling the chariot comes in. Sometimes the pulling is there, but here in Jagannath Yatra, the pulling is such a central activity. Pulling is celebrated because that just shows the love of the gopis to pull Krishna back, to pull Krishna into Vrindavan. So that activity itself, I almost mixed the two of those. The M was what? Discussing faith, mood. So I already mentioned to some extent the mood, but I'll add a couple of points in this. With respect to the mood, the Jagannath Katha festival has been going on for a long time, thousands of years. Even from modern historical perspective, it is at least 1,000 years old or more. And from the traditions perspective, it has been going on for much longer. And now, while this festival has been going on for a long time, the festival itself received a special fillip, a special boost when Lord Chaitanya started participating. So about 5 centuries ago, when Lord Chaitanya decided to go to Puri,
Everyone goes. Look again.
Now, the mood in the Rath Yatra, especially it became intensified since Jagannath started manifesting. Sorry, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started manifesting. He appeared over there. Now, in India, what happens is that every festival or anything that becomes popular, many stories start getting associated around it. And it is common that if anything is historical and special, then every tradition starts laying claim to that. So, say for example, when Jains and Buddhists, they started becoming popular and influential in India. Roughly from 5th century BC to 5th century AD, Jainism and Buddhism were hugely influential in India. Big kings were Jains and Buddhists. And now initially, these traditions try to distance themselves from the Vedic tradition by philosophically trying to counter them. So actually, between that, what is called the classical period, where there's Greek philosophy in Europe, those periods. So what historians say is that more books were written on atheism or propagating atheism in Sanskrit than any other language. The second language is English. There are more books on atheism in Sanskrit. Because now we may think of Jains and Buddhists as pious people, but Jains and Buddhists actually don't accept the existence of God. So they wrote books propounding atheism. So initially their idea was just reject the tradition. Try to falsify the Vedic tradition. But when that doesn't work, then there is a strategy called appropriation or misappropriation. Appropriation means that you take the symbols and icons and concepts of another tradition and bring them into your own tradition. The Christians did that. They tried to establish that the Christian Bible is so great and everything that came before the Bible is useless. But then they actually saw the Bible, with all due respect to it, doesn't really have much philosophy. It has some moral teachings, very good moral teachings, and it has stories of Jesus and the miraculous activities of God as he led his chosen people. So when they encountered the sophisticated philosophy and analysis of the Greeks, then many Christians initially tried to demonize those Greek teachers, but then they said these Greek teachers are actually pre-Christ Christians. That actually God only sent them to prepare the intellectual ground for the culmination of the teachings that he sent through Jesus. And that's how they try to appropriate them. That's why now in many churches, Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, they are shown with as if they are with some Christian symbols. So there is a Jain. So Jains also and Buddhists also try to do the same thing. Now if you go to Jain or Buddhist temples, they have many of the Hindu deities in those temples. If you see. So what their idea is that you worship all these deities till you ultimately realize that you have to go to Shunya or you have to attain the state of Mahavir or whatever. So there is a book called Jain Ramayana. So the incidents in that book are all very similar, some differences, but very similar to what is the main Ram story. But the key difference is in the forest, Ram is meeting all Jain sages, and they are giving Jain Upadesh. And then finally, when Sita enters into the earth, at that time Ram becomes enlightened and becomes a Jain. So this is religious appropriation. So this is quite common across any tradition. Nowadays you might say Christians, they do that they often adopt the nomenclature. That I was in Pune, we had there was one place we were traveling by, we had an interfaith conference, and it was called the Isha Sadhanalaya. Isha Sadhanalaya. So they all Vedic names. They have they have Christopanishad. So so basically they appropriate the forms of other traditions. So on Orissa, the worship of the goddess is very common. So they have the worship of Mariamma. Mariamma is the Virgin Mary becomes Mariamma. So anyway, the point I'm making here is that the Jagannath, because Jagannath festival became so popular that many people have actually, many traditions have tried to appropriate Jagannath. And that's why if you go on a place like Wikipedia or try to look at Jagannath festival, so many different significances keep coming. Jagannath represent this, and Baldev represent this, and Subhadra represent this. And sometimes they say Jagannath represent the Vaishnava tradition, Baldev represent the Shaivite tradition, and Subhadra represents the Shakti tradition. And so this is a grand sangam of all the big traditions in Hinduism. So they have various ideas of interpreting it. But the point is that such things do happen. We cannot avoid that. That's just the way tradition is. You know, the Hindu tradition, broadly speaking, was such that there was never one central authority. That person would give out standards and everybody would accept it. It was much more diversified. It has its advantages and disadvantages both. But anyway, why I'm talking about this is that the mood of Jagannath Yatra, by the time Mahaprabhu came, because India's tradition is so diverse, specifically what did this signify? It was a great festival, attracted a great number of people, but what did it signify? There was a significant level of confusion about what it signified. So, it was Mahaprabhu who came, and when Mahaprabhu based himself in Jagannath Puri, and Mahaprabhu started exhibiting his ecstatic dancing. And Mahaprabhu is a Krishna Bhakta. He is, of course, Krishna is God, but he is also a devotee of God. And the way he would reciprocate Jagannath, the Jagannath Katha festival is always a festival of devotion. But the question is, whose devotion? That was not always very clear. There was one Western scholar, he said, when it comes to religion, Hinduism is the only millionaire. Only Hinduism has a million gods. So, different people have different ideas. But Mahaprabhu was the person who actually manifested or re-manifested the emphasis on Krishna Bhakti in the Jagannath Katha festival. So, the identity of Jagannath, because again I said, Jagannath and Krishna's forms are so different that different people could bring in different legends over there. So Mahaprabhu emphasized. And then we have the Rath Yatra going on. Actually, there are many amazing things happening. I won't be able to go into all of that right now. But see, there is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is dancing. Then there is Jagannath who is on the cart. Now, there are around Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then there are the thousands and millions of the masses. The masses are also the devoted masses. So now, actually there are multiple reciprocations happening over here. There is, and the most important is the reciprocation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. Jagannath is Krishna in separation from Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radharani in separation from Krishna. But while that reciprocation is happening, that's not the only reciprocation. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is reciprocating with his devotees. Then Jagannath is reciprocating with Mahaprabhu's devotees. Jagannath is reciprocating with the people. Then the masses are reciprocating with Mahaprabhu's devotees. And the masses are reciprocating with Jagannath. So, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are multiple reciprocations happening. And all this is happening to Pratap Rudra. So, Pratap Rudra is caught in almost like the delightful crossfire or the cross current. So, he comes along and when Mahaprabhu's associate is dancing ecstatically. And now the king is coming. And the king's servants want to make space for the king. He wants to come and observe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing. But then he tries to get Mahaprabhu's associate to move aside. And Mahaprabhu's associate is such ecstasy, Then he turns around and just slaps this person. Why are you disturbing me? And then the king is respected. The king's attendants are also respected. Nobody has slapped him before. He just doesn't, he can't compute it. He feels so insulted. And Pratap Rudra is so humble. He says, "You're so fortunate that you got the blessing in the form of a slap." So, when Mahaprabhu is there, the people come to see Jagannath, but people also come to see Mahaprabhu dancing. The Lord is always there as the deities, but often the Lord's presence becomes more manifest through the presence of saintly devotees. So there was Naham Vasami Vaikunthe Yoginam Hridayeshu va Yatra Gayanti Madbhaktaha Tatra Tishtami Narada. Lord Vishnu himself is saying that I don't reside in Vaikuntha. I don't reside in the hearts of the yogis. I reside where my devotees are singing my glories. Now this is a good example of non-literal usage. Now, if you go to Vaikuntha, it's not that Vaikuntha is empty. Vishnu is there. Vishnu is there in the hearts of everyone, what to speak of the yogis. But the emphasis here is that in those places in Vaikuntha or in the hearts of the yogis, most of us ordinary people can't perceive Krishna's presence. It is when devotees come together and glorify the Lord, that is when we start perceiving the Lord's presence. And that's when the Lord is saying, if you want to feel my presence, then go where my devotees are glorified. That's where you will see my presence. Sometimes those people who are non-theistic or cynics, they say, oh, God is everywhere. Why do you need to go to the temple? Yes, God is everywhere, that is true. But that's like saying water is everywhere in the form of water vapor. When you're thirsty, just hang out your tongue. Just hang out your tongue and take water vapor. So it's not going to work, isn't it? We need to go to a place where that water vapor is accessible to us in the form of water. So similarly, as God is everywhere, but we can't perceive God's presence everywhere. We need to go to those places where His presence becomes manifested to us. So therefore, it is Mahaprabhu and his devotional ecstasy, his devotional dancing. It is described that his rupa, his nritya, and his bhava. All three captivated the people's minds. Mahaprabhu's golden sonara parvat, as it would say. He just looked so magnificent, so tall and so magnificent. His form was captivating, and then when he would dance, he was a beautiful dancer. And not just his dancing, he was filled with such immense emotion. Seeing that mood everywhere. But that was the mood of Rathyantara being remanifested. So while this exchange was going on internally between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. And sometimes Jagannath would be so eager, just watch Mahaprabhu dance, and the chariot would not move forward only. And Mahaprabhu would keep dancing, and the elephant, while people would pull the chariot, they will also have elephants because sometimes the chariot will not move. And the elephants were pulling and the people were pulling and nothing would happen. And then finally, Mahaprabhu would go and just from behind, just touch it with the head. So touch it with the head and the chariot would start moving. So Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath had a special bond that was seen by everyone over there. So people were inspired to see Jagannath, but they were inspired much more to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because they could see the devotion and the devotional reciprocation going on at extraordinary level. And around Mahaprabhu would perform, his associates would perform Sankirtan. And these are times when Mahaprabhu would expand himself. And there were multiple Sankirtan parties, and each party he would be dancing with his associates. And not everybody could see it. Everybody would feel as if Mahaprabhu is only in our group. Like in the Ras Leela, every Gopi would feel that Krishna is dancing with me alone. So like that, the associates would feel that Mahaprabhu is in our circle dancing in the center. But it's only few special souls, like Pratap Rudra, he got to say, hey, Mahaprabhu is everywhere. Sarva Bhattacharya said that you have seen this is a great mercy on you that you have been able to see this. So it because all these reciprocations that were going on over there. There are multiple incidents described in the description of the Jagannath Katha in the Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji especially. And these various reciprocations, they themselves form a fascinating thread of analysis. But for us, the main thing is that just because a festival is going on doesn't mean that the mood of the festival will also be going on. It is the mood has to be maintained. Now it is in general, this is one of the common dangers in bhakti, that bhakti is in one sense is where spiritual emotion is expressed and experienced through concrete tangible symbols, and that has very special advantages. Like it's not just silent meditation. We come in front of the Lord, we move our hands and dance, we sing specific sounds. So bhakti is actually in one sense sensory spirituality. It is spirituality accessed through the senses. So broadly speaking, what happens is, if we consider the senses in spirituality, the senses are for the materialists, the senses are almost romanticized. Oh, so if all the senses, you can enjoy so much pleasure, and that goes against spirituality. This is materialism. Now the senses are demonized in impersonalism. The senses are the gateways to hell. Sense gratification is the path to death. So senses, just shut out the senses. Now in bhakti, the senses are utilized. They are not romanticized, they are not demonized, but they are utilized. That it is, a devotee doesn't take a Mauna Vrata. Rupa Goswami's aspiration is the opposite of Mauna Vrata. I want thousands of mouths and millions of ears to hear, to sing and hear the names of Krishna. The senses are utilized, and for using the senses, we also have tangible sense objects. So normally when you're utilizing, we have spiritual sense objects. So sometimes the sense objects is used in the sense of temptations. But sense objects have the value neutral meaning also, just objects that are perceived by the senses. So the deities are the spiritual sense objects. When we come to a sacred place, when we go to a temple and the temple has majestic architecture, then the architecture of the temple itself is a spiritual sense object. So bhakti has this idea of lot of tangible objects and tangible actions that are involved. And that in one sense makes spirituality accessible. But the problem is that many times when we are using the external to reach the eternal. One idea of spirituality is go within and turn away from the world. But bhakti is what? In one sense, external to go to the eternal. So we don't just stay in our home to become immersed in Krishna. We come out of our homes, we come to the temples, we go out on the streets to have celebrate Jagannath Katha festival, to distribute books, to do Harinam. So it's external to the eternal. But the problem is that sometimes we may just get caught in the external and forget the eternal. That is how what this whole complete thing is spiritual. But only this becomes a ritual, an empty ritual. The spirit gets lost from it. Oh, this is the ever-present danger. And that's why saintly devotees, Mahaprabhu is of course God, but he manifested the mood of saintly devotee. So that mood was remanifested and emphasized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And now that brings us to the last part. What is the last? Extent. So extent means how the Rath Yatra spread. So now if we look at the Rath Yatra festival, generally speaking, in the Bhakti tradition especially, it's that in the medieval times when Mahaprabhu was there were saints who appeared in Maharashtra, saints appeared in South India, saints appeared in North India. These Bhakti saints, they led to what is called as a Bhakti effervescence or a Bhakti resurgence across the country, across the subcontinent, beyond the country. So that happened very strongly, and many Bhakti festivals started getting spread. So Jagannath Rath Yatra festival was not just in Jagannath. Sometimes a million people or more would go to Jagannath Puri for the festival, but many could not go. So extending the mood of the mercy of Jagannath, that Jagannath comes out to bestow his mercy on everyone. So what would happen is, at the same time as the Theatra festival will be there, many nearby villages, towns and cities, they also started having the Jagannath Theatra festival. So Bengal and Odisha are not that far away. While there are differences, there are also similarities in the cultures. Prabhupada grew up in Bengal. Now, before Prabhupada, if you look at the previous acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur lived in Puri. We still have Bhaktivinoda Thakur's home in Puri, which now our movement has acquired, and we have a small center over there, trying to have a bigger center. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur focused more on Mayapur, also go to Puri at times. Now, Prabhupada had a special bond with Jagannath. And right from his childhood, you know that story. Prabhupada wanted himself to do Rath Yatra festival. And now, while Rath Yatra festival is common, and Rath Yatra festivals are not uncommon, even in those times, children doing Rath Yatra festival, the children have some devotional toys and they play with those toys, that's fair enough. But Rath Yatra festival itself was not that common. That was the special bond that Prabhupada had with Jagannath. And then when Prabhupada had finished one phase of his college, Prabhupada finished his college, but Prabhupada did not accept the degree because he wanted to participate in the non-cooperation movement. But then after Prabhupada graduated, the first things he looked for is, which are the trains to Jagannath Puri? How can I go there? How can I spend time over there? So that was his longing, his special bond with Jagannath. And then, when Prabhupada went to America, there is a fascinating lecture. Prabhupada, he sometimes makes that Prabhupada is generally far more subtle and nuanced than what we think of him. Prabhupada, generally we hear, I didn't change a single word. Prabhupada said, repeat the message as it is. Prabhupada gives the example of a postman. That the postman just, if there is some money order coming to us, the postman just delivers the money order. Prabhupada said, I didn't change a single word. But still, if you go to the Prabhupada gives a series of lectures on nectar of devotion, in Vrindavan. And when Prabhupada is speaking on this principle of yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshavet. So Prabhupada says, while explaining that, I practically invented the Krishna consciousness movement. Now, what does Prabhupada mean by that? And how do we reconcile that? So what Prabhupada is saying over there is that it is not just enough for the Guru to tell the disciple somehow or other fix the mind in Krishna. It is the Guru's responsibility to come up with ways and means by which the disciple can fix the mind in Krishna. So it is not just the disciple give instruction. The disciple should be given instruction, the disciple should be facilitated in fulfilling the instruction. So one of the things that Prabhupada did was the whole idea of book distribution. That traditionally those who were renunciate, they would go and ask for bhiksha, and while asking for bhiksha, they would also interact with people, and they would be able to utilize some spiritual wisdom. But Prabhupada said that is not considered honorable in the West. So Prabhupada said we will distribute books, we will give charity. So the distribution of books was, in one sense, a Prabhupada innovation. While magazines were distributed by Chaitanya Charan also, but that distinctive emphasis on that as a major service. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to a large extent, his whole presentation was very intellectual, and he was trying to reach to the classes. And if we are trying to reach the classes, then they are not very impressed by books that somebody gives to them on the streets. So while they would do that, that was not the emphasis. They would try to go to universities, they would try to go to places where like there will be elite clubs, and there they would try to talk with the people and give them the books. So Prabhupada made it a service for everyone. Now that's what Prabhupada did. That I came up with various means by which the devotees could find it easier to think about Krishna. So one such thing was the Rath Yatra. Now, Prabhupada was in San Francisco. I won't go into the story of how Jagannath appeared. Briefly, it is that Prabhupada, the devotees were always trying to find out something to somewhere to please Prabhupada. So they had just gone to some shop and they found some strange looking images. The first time, and in this something similar happened. Prabhupada was in the 26th Avenue, and his disciples, students, or most of the students, a few disciples, they said, please Swamiji. So they went to the local Indian store, and they tried to local store, antique store, and they said, whatever looked Indian, they bought it. And they kept it, and they put all pictures around in the small room that was there. And Prabhupada came, oh, it's nice. Prabhupada went around and looked at each of the pictures. Oh, Prabhupada said, this is beautiful. And they asked, what is this? So, is this a cat? So actually, it was Hanuman. Now, who will mistake Hanuman to be a cat? But the point was that devotees were just so clueless that their cluelessness was itself endearing. In a sense, they just had this sweet, innocent desire to serve Prabhupada. So, similarly, San Francisco, they saw something which looked like strange, antique kind of carved images. Something Swamiji like it. And the devotees just got it from there, and then they found that they said, Swamiji, you got something. And Prabhupada saw that. Prabhupada was sitting, eyes opened wide, and Prabhupada offered obeisance. This is wonderful. This is Jagannath. This is the Lord of the universe. So Prabhupada felt that the same Jagannath whom he had worshipped in his childhood, that Lord Jagannath had appeared on his own, that Chaya in his movement. And Prabhupada asked devotees to sculpt the image of Jagannath, and that's how we had the first Jagannath deities. Then Prabhupada was in San Francisco. He had different centers at different times. So we had a two-story building. Prabhupada was once walking in the balcony, and he was walking and chanting, and he looked out, and he saw a flatbed truck. And when he saw a flatbed truck, he thought, hey, we can put Jagannath on this, and this can become a chariot. Now, first of all, how many people can think of a flatbed chariot truck? And it's just so inconspicuous. I don't think this can be a chariot for Jagannath. Prabhupada defines one as Krishna consciousness means to see the potential in everything to be engaged in Krishna's service. To see the potential in everything to be engaged in Krishna's service. That was Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada said, let's make this into a chariot. Now, a truck is like a poor man's version of a chariot. It's not exactly at all like a chariot. At that time, the devotees didn't have much Lakshmi. Book distribution had not really taken off that much. Later on, it would go on. But that's how they started it. And Prabhupada's mood was initially Yukta Vairagya. Whatever it is, we use. Now, the hippies, the counterculture had this small group. Counterculture was quite a large group of people. The hippies were small. These people, they just like to do something which is against the mainstream culture. And then Prabhupada told them that we are Dhuti Kurta. So what you told me for us, the appeal of the dhoti especially. See, kurta seems to be like a normal shirt, just like a different kind of shirt. So it doesn't seem to matter so much. But dhoti and saris, they are quite different from what normal people wear. To some extent, women often wear more fashionable clothes than men. So women have more leeway about what they wear. But for men to wear dhotis, so I said that the devotees, that is it, one devotee, first time I saw somebody wearing dhoti, I thought this is just a giant diaper. And a part of the appeal was that This was so outrageous for the Western mind. So the counterculture means do everything opposite to what the mainstream society wants. So for them, it was just an adventure of doing something which nobody would make sense of what you are doing. That's what they liked. Now they like to do all kinds of crazy things. And then Prabhupada introduced initially the outdoor kirtans. So that they little apprehensive, but then soon they got a taste for it. And devotees would eagerly go out and do kirtan at various places. But then, when this kirtan generally, when they would do is, they would go to a park and sit down and do kirtan. Initially, devotees would never ask for permission. Whenever any police would come, they would just move to some other side and start doing kirtan. And the police would go back, they would go back and they would do kirtan again. Same place. But eventually, but still, when they started Rath Yatra, see, among all the crazy things that even the counterculture people think of, dancing right in the middle of the streets was something really outrageous. And in the past, if they had tried to dance in the middle of the streets, the police would have come and arrested them. But now they were dancing in the middle of the streets and the police were escorting them. So, the Rath Yatra got the imagination of the followers of Prabhupada at that time like nothing else. It became, like, in their language, the cool thing to do. Everybody wanted to try Rath Yatra. It was just such adventure, such fun. We know about Jagannath Prabhu's dedication and sacrifice and tireless endeavor. But the point is, for them, it was just adventure and fun and just the sheer outrageousness of the spectacle was what loved. So that's what I mean, that Prabhupada could have introduced many things. But Prabhupada also knew the minds of his audience, of his Asian followers. And he gave them things that would fire their imagination, that they could easily fall in love with. That's how the Festival of Chariots, as it was renamed, it started spreading far and wide. It started in San Francisco, then they started doing it in New Zealand, it started in various parts of America, they started doing it in Canada. And then Prabhupada sent his disciples to London. They did the festival in London. And the London Rath Yatra, I think the second Rath Yatra, Prabhupada came over there. And Prabhupada was actually very sick. One of the Rath Yatras, second or third, I think. Prabhupada was very sick. And Prabhupada said, I'll just come in a car, I'll take darshan and I'll leave. But Prabhupada came over there, and when he came, he saw Jagannath. And then Prabhupada just got a transcendental surge of energy. And Prabhupada started dancing there. Now by this time, Prabhupada had become a little aged, and Prabhupada had taught everyone the Swami step, but Prabhupada would normally not dance so often. Prabhupada, they wanted to dance in front of Prabhupada, in front of the deities. Prabhupada started dancing. And when Prabhupada started dancing, the whole crowd just went mad. And the devotees were lost in ecstasy, and British cops were lost in anxiety. They had planned this chariot. To move, and when Prabhupada started dancing, everybody was dancing in the same place. Nobody was moving only. They say, move. They would tell one devotee, and they tell another devotee, tell the third devotee, yes, I tell devotee. The devotee was lost in ecstasy. So it is just one of the most amazing festivals. It was, in many ways, Prabhupada was so conscious of the significant cultural conquest that it signified. Basically, when the British came to India, in the Abrahamic religions, there is the idea of prohibition against worshipping graven images. Thou shalt not worship any graven images. That they interpret as against idolatry. And there's a reason for that. Moses had gone up the mount to get the 10 commandments. He's gone for some time. His followers feeling fearful. They, whatever gold they had, they made it into a golden calf and started worshipping that. And when Moses came back, he said, "You fools, what are you doing? The real God is long instructing you to worship it, and why are you worshiping a calf? This image over here." And he broke it. And from that time onwards, the idea of not worshipping any images is very prominent. Now, among all the various images that are worshipped, the one that just triggered the most exasperation and you could say almost outrage among the Christian missionaries, one of them was Jagannath. Yes, this just seemed like they had these Native Americans, and Native Americans would have totem poles, and then they had some primitive wooden images, and this seemed just like that to them. And for them, Jagannath was the ultimate expression of voodoo worship. And that thousands and millions of people would come to worship this voodoo form. Just showed them how dark Hinduism was. And there's one Christian missionary who said that India can never know peace unless this voodoo cult of the worship of Jagannath is ended. And they just couldn't comprehend it. So there are many writings about how utterly pagan the worship of Jagannath is. But now those Christian missionaries who wanted to uproot or terminate the worship of Jagannath from India, that Jagannath's chariot was in London. So this was the cultural conquest of by Prabhupada. Prabhupada was supremely energized by it. And then Prabhupada encouraged devotees to do Jagannath Yatra everywhere. And now practically all over the world, in all the major cities, there is always the Jagannath Festival, Yatra Festival is happening. And just I was 2 weeks ago in UK, and UK had a grand Yatra Festival. And then there's the Trafalgar Square. It is amazing. I posted some of the pictures on my Instagram. And there's this tall Trafalgar Square on one side, and then Jagannath on the other side. There's Lord Nelson. The Nelson's store is there. And the Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. In the backdrop of London's skyline, it's a majestic sight, and hundreds of devotees are coming from all over UK, from all over Europe. Devotees come. So it's all over the world. It's spreading. Whether it's Boston or Belgrade or Brisbane, from North America and Australia, everywhere in the world, whether it is Dublin or Dubai or Durban. In Dubai we can't do public Rath Yatras, but devotees in the Middle East, they hire the biggest hall that is available in the city. And in that biggest hall, they have indoor Rath Yatras. So, this, in many ways, the Festival of Chariots has become an iconic festival associated with the broad Vedic tradition. There's the Festival of Lights, there's the Festival of Colors, like that the Festival of Chariots has entered the broad cultural image of Hinduism, of the Vedic tradition. And in no small way, the credit for this, major credit for this goes to Sri Prabhupada. It is that legacy that we all inherit. It is that legacy that we all have the opportunity to carry forward. Now, when Srila Prabhupada was asked once, what will determine how much the Krishna consciousness movement will spread? So Prabhupada gave different replies at different times. But Prabhupada at one time said it depends on the devotees. As much as they endeavor, it will spread. It depends on the devotees. So, we have great acharyas, we have Mahaprabhu, we have Srila Prabhupada. But Krishna requires and utilizes instruments in each generation from that generation. The acharyas are not going to come here in our generation to spread Krishna. Yes, their blessings will be there. But every generation has to take responsibility to become an instrument for the Lord's mission. And when we try to do that, like say, Jagannath is here, Srila Prabhupada is here. So Prabhupada wants to worship Jagannath, and Jagannath wants to fulfill Prabhupada's desire. So there is, in our temples we have Prabhupada and we have Krishna. Now some people they say, you have elevated your guru to the level of a deity. In no other traditional Vaishnava temples, you have actually the deity of the guru right in every temple. say you do Guru Puja, you make your Guru into God. Prabhupada was very clear that Guru is not God. But Prabhupada's mood was that there's a constant reciprocation of love. Sadhyam Hridayam Madhyam Manyam. Krishna, the Bhagavatam said that Sadhunam Hridayam Tada. That I am in the hearts of the sadhus and the sadhus are in my heart. So what happens for us is when we come into the temples, then Prabhupada is beholding Krishna, Krishna is beholding Prabhupada, and there is that cross current of love that is going on. And in that cross current of love, we become the accidental beneficiaries. So, like sometimes there are two parties who are fighting, and sometimes people get caught in the crossfire. You become accidental victims. So, for us, Prabhupada has a desire to glorify Jagannath, and Jagannath has a desire to glorify Prabhupada. And if we come in between, we get the mercy of both of them. So, in that way, we all can, in our own small ways, be a part of this devotional history, of this dynamic devotional history, which is still unfolding, which is still manifesting through anyone and everyone who is ready to become an instrument. So, what all of you did here, under the guidance of Lilananda Prabhu, is historically unparalleled, and it is testament to both your devotion as well as the mercy that Jagannath and Srila Prabhupada have given you. So, my great appreciation and gratitude to all of you for the magnificent series of festivals that you did across the various places. Lilananda sent me the articles and the reports and all the struggles that you had to do to get through, to find a way to move forward and get things done. Satatam kirtayanto ma yatantascha drudavrataha. So we want to glorify the Lord. Privately we can glorify the Lord in our homes as much as we want. But if we want to do it in this world, then we need drudavrataha. We need determination. So determination, Prabhupada had a great determination. Prabhupada was empowered. But what does empowerment mean? I conclude with this point. The word empowerment we often use. So empowered, when somebody is empowered, it doesn't mean the absence of obstacles, or rather the disappearance of obstacles. That if somebody is empowered, they don't have any obstacles at all. It is rather persistence till the disappearance of obstacles. The empowerment is that a person keeps persisting. It is that empowerment, okay, it didn't work like this, let's try like this. It didn't work like this, try like this. Let's say the Ganga finds a way to go towards the ocean. The devotee finds some way to serve the Lord. If not this way, this way. If not here, here. That persistence till the obstacles disappear. We say Prabhupada had so many obstacles in his preaching, but Prabhupada kept persisting. You see that old Ramayana series where Timon shoots an arrow and Ram shoots an arrow, and both the arrows come on the collision path. And if both the weapons are very powerful, then they are hitting till one of the weapons falls. So like that, Drudha Vrataha, that persistence. We keep persisting till the obstacles fall away. Machittaha sarvadurgani mat prasada tarishyasi. Obstacles will come, but Krishna will raise us above those obstacles. That is Krishna's supreme mercy. So I summarize what I discussed today. I talk about the fame of Jagannath, or especially the Jagannath Rath Yatra. So we talk about F was form. So in the form, I talk about the origin of the form. That is Krishna ecstatic by three things. See, here Krishna Katha, here Krishna Katha in Dwarka, and here Krishna Katha in Dwarka with the Dwarkavasis being appreciating. Then I talk about the deity origin. So the deity is apparently Indradumna made a mistake by rushing in. But we discussed how Krishna's plan can work even through our mistakes. So we don't want to commit mistakes, we don't want to justify our mistakes. But at the same time, even if there are mistakes, we don't lose heart or hope. We know that Krishna's plan will still work. Then the second was activity. So I discussed about how the Lord going outdoors, that is both manifestation of his mercy and his majesty. And then he's going out of the chariot, you can say outdoors on chariot. That is also, there are different vahanas, but chariot. So we discuss especially the significance of the chariot in the Brajalila. It was like a closure of the circle for the gopis. A chariot took their life and heart away from them, and on the chariot they would come back. And then we talk about the pulling. The pulling shows their longing. That they're so eager that Krishna come, that they will pull the ropes with their own arms. And then we discussed about the mood. So mood is that Jagannath is Krishna in separation and Mahaprabhu is Radharani in separation. And they are both united. And we discussed especially about how Mahaprabhu rejuvenated the Yatra by establishing what is the actual significance. We talked about how appropriation, misappropriation can happen, and the spiritual can become just a ritual. But people don't know the significance, and then other traditions and other people can start clinging to it, and the significance can get either lost or confused. And then lastly, we discussed about the extent. So how Srila Prabhupada, from his childhood, he started it, and then his eagerness to let Jagannath's manifestation first, automatically through Chaya, then Prabhupada's Jagannath Yatra, from the using a truck as a cart, that was amazing, and then especially the London Rath Yatra, that was like the ultimate cultural conquest that had Prabhupada was able to do. That those who wanted to remove and Jagannath's worship in India, they found that in their own land Jagannath had come and he was being worshipped. And they talk about the cross current of love between Lord Jagannath and Srila Prabhupada, and how we can become accidental beneficiaries in that loving reciprocation. So this is the beauty of Lord Jagannath and his Rath Yatra. I'll conclude. So let's see. I had composed a small poem about Jagannath. I can find it. Okay, let's see. So wonderful, wonderful is the occasion when the Lord comes out in procession, filling the city's soulless streets with sublime sights and sacred sounds, blessing all who are chasing illusion in unsatisfying rounds. See your eyes, see the Lord's form so marvelous. Sing, O tongue, sing the Lord's name so delicious. Pull, O hands, pull the Lord's chariot so lofty. Pull, O heart, pull the Lord into my soul so empty. Pull, O Lord, pull my mind away from the world's temptation unending. Pull, O Lord, pull my heart toward you in devotion everlasting. Jagannath Swami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jagannath Yatra Mahamahotsav ki jai. Oh,
Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji
Jai.
Questions, please. We have the energy for questions. You are ecstatically exhausted. So you are unexpectedly exhausted.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions, reflections? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class. So, it's a wonderful class about the Jagannath, so interaction with Jagannath forms. But when one of the book where Krishna has many names, the Shama Sundar, this is categorized into primary and secondary names. Then why the Jagannath name is categorized into secondary names, not the primary? How should we understand?
So, why is Jagannath name considered secondary? See, there is, I'll take a very simple answer, very complicated question. Then I'll make it simple. So, see, in philosophy of language, there's philosophy of everything, so philosophy of language also. So basically, there is like an object, and there is the person or the subject, and then a term is used to refer to the object. Now the term links the two things. Term links the object with the person. So now what happens is that, say like there was this whole controversy at one time that is India's name being changed to Bharat, and if it is being changed, should it be done, should it not be done? India is still going to have all its poverty and all its disorder and messiness. What is the use of just a name change? So the point is that words, whenever we have words are said to have denotations. That means what they denote, and words have connotations. Connotations is what they connote. Connote means what they remind in people's minds. So now different words remind us of different things. Say for example, if we say the head of state of India, the Prime Minister of India, I said Narendra Modi. Now each of these is referring to the same thing, but the name that we use brings a different image in the mind. The object is the same, but the image that comes in the mind is different. So like in the West, you know, a mother or a grandmother, parent is upset with the child. Then they will use the full name of the child. So some girls, the only parents call her Jennifer Elizabeth Taylor. What have you done? So the idea is the name, the person is the same, but the name that we use, it both reminds us of something and it reminds others of something. The names have connotations. So, so when the names are classified as primary and secondary, that depends on. So now coming to the Lord's names, there are primary and secondary names. So this is based on. So for example, Vidhata or Annadata, or there are names of the Lord about God as He is, or God in His own personhood. God, he would say, God in His own life. And there are names of God as He acts in our life. That means how God functions in the world. So, Srishtikarta. The Brahma is Srishtikarta, but Krishna is the ultimate Srishtikarta. So, there are names which are of God in relationship with us in the world. Those are considered secondary in the sense that they remind us of God more in a functional role, not so much of God in a personal role. The personal role is that He has His personal loving reciprocation with His devotees in Vrindavan, in Kurukshetra, other places. So based on this, the primary and secondary names are considered. So at one level, Namna, Matari, Bahuda, which is self-existence. So Om is at one level you can say as powerful as Harishtu at one level. Because both are referring to the same absolute. The difference is, although both are a reference to the same absolute truth, are both triggering the same remembrance within us. The denotation is the same, the connotation is different. So now, the word Jagannath, it can refer to generally Jagannath. It is a secondary name, the Lord who is the master of the universe. So, if we consider Jagannath as referring to his functional role, then it's a secondary name. But if we are considering Jagannath in the form of Lord Jagannath as Krishna in separation from Radharani, then that for the devotees with that particular connotation that will be a primary name. So it is based on what meaning we are focusing on. Jagannath has a functional meaning or is the master of the universe. See, generally when we think of Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagam, we are not so much thinking of the master of the universe, we think of the specific form of the Lord. So it's a specific, the personal relationship or the personal mood of the Lord and the devotee is what we are reminded of. Then it cannot be considered to be secondary. So Jagannath is considered secondary, and those times when it is talking about him as the main person.
Thank you, Prabhuji. प्रभुजी दो क्वेश्चन है actually. एक तो है कि there is one question, I'm sorry speaking Hindi. So there is one question like when Krishna was moving away from Vrindavan to Mathura, he said that he will come back, but he really did not come back. So did he lie that time actually? And I mean, so how should we understand this actually? Because when we see Lord Ram, where Sabri Mata was waiting for him and he went, that time actually. So yeah.
So did Krishna lie? Well, Krishna is the best in everything, so he's the best of So well, not exactly, and that can be applied over there. There are, our acharyas have done a lot of analysis. What Krishna's promise that I will return. So how is that to be understood? There are three levels of understanding from what I have seen. One is that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Basically what it means is that there are these two manifestations of Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna and Vrindavan Krishna. The Vrindavan Krishna is the one who is born to Yashoda Maya. So that Vrindavan Krishna enters into the hearts of the gopis and the Vrajavasis. And is described from the hearts, he manifests as Smriti. The remembrance of Krishna is said to fall two categories, Smriti and Smriti. Now, technically there are many meanings for this, but in this context, Smriti is like conscientious or cultivated remembrance. We strive to remember Krishna, but Smriti is spontaneous remembrance. It just manifests from within. We have that word Atah Shri Krishna Namadi, Na Bhavet Grihayam Indriye, Sevon Mukhe Ki Jivadam, Swayam Eva Smrityada. The Lord manifests. So Krishna manifested from within the hearts of the gopis as Smriti. And the gopis remembered Krishna like never before, with far greater intensity, with a far greater sense of intimacy. So that's one understanding. That Krishna returned at that time, and that he actually entered into their hearts. And that's how he fulfilled their hearts. Now the second understanding that is given is that when Krishna, this is described by Gachibowli Gopal, that Krishna, after he killed Dantavakra, that killing happened near Mathura. And after that, Krishna put down his burdens in the Yamuna. He immersed the Yamuna and he entered into Yamuna. And then that Krishna went to Vrindavan. And there in Vrindavan, there's a joyous reunion. In fact, there's a formal Krishna got married to all the gopis. And then a giant chariot manifested. And the gopis went, the chariot will take you away. No, this chariot is, we are all going through this. And then everybody will down got in the chariot, and that chariot came to Yamuna. And while it's crossing across Yamuna, just rose up into the sky and went to the spiritual world. So Krishna went back to the spiritual world with all the Gachibowlis. And then while Vrindavan Krishna was going back to the spiritual world, Vasudeva Krishna came out and he went back to Dwarka. And he continued on with all the subsequent pastimes. This is how actually Krishna returned to Vrindavan and honored his promise to the devotees that I will come back. And the third is that Krishna actually united with the gopis in the spiritual world. So that in this life, in this world, the gopis experience separation from Krishna. But in that separation, they experience the greatest union. Krishna told the gopis when he went away from them in the last leader, he said that actually the love that you showed, love is so great that it would reward me. I really indebted to you for this. So Krishna wanted the gopis to experience that summit of love, where while there is separation from the Lord, and one sense of agony, but in that separation there is the greatest emotion of love. And so they experience that separation for this lifetime, and then they unite Krishna in the spiritual world. So it was in that sense Krishna came back to them in not in Bhava Vrindavan, but in the Divya Vrindavan, the Goloka. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, small. Actually, we also see we haven't seen any reference like Krishna playing flute other than Vrindavan, like even to Mathura or Dwarka. So, is that how should we take it? Like there's no flute by Krishna played, other than Vrindavan place.
Yeah. Krishna had what you see. Krishna adopts the role, adopts the mood of the role that he has to do. So Krishna had very serious response with Dwarka in Mathura, Mathura, then Kurukshetra. So in one sense, flute is a part of his life that is reserved for Vrindavan. He can play it anywhere, and there is a record of him playing it incidentally. But that's not prominent. It's like some people, if there's a special relationship between two people, then they use a particular term for that person only, or they have their own way of talking with each other. So, like for Krishna, for the Vrindavan, the flute was special to Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a wonderful lecture and clarifying our lecture. So we are benefited a lot. So always there is some question in my mind. I am trying to make my mind questionless so that I can only devote to Lord. So why these questions are coming in the mind? And is this the question of the soul or the mind or the brain? And there are many questions while listening. So there are some doubts also coming. Why this always some negative thoughts, some opposite questions while listening the Krishna Katha, Krishna Lila coming. So right now I have a question. Till now in Puri, if one person becomes a devotee also, if he belongs to some different religion, he is not allowed to enter into the temple. So why the small thing is not being understood till now? And one more thing, the question came to my mind.
So, first you have a question about a question, then you have a question. So you have questions about questions. Anyway, let's start with it. See, each of us has a particular kind of mind. And I used to have a lot of questions. And sometimes devotees, when I would ask the question, they would like it. Some devotees would not like it. Sometimes they would get annoyed with it. One devotee would say, Charan, I think you have to remember that you are the Bhakti Marg, not the Jnana Marg. So I found that not all devotees appreciate questions, and that's fine. But there are many devotees who do appreciate that. So we have to find like-minded devotees. So it's not a bad thing to have questions. And sometimes we Indians, on Wikipedia there's a whole page for Indian English. So Indian English is quite different from say British English or American English. Like we often use the word wedding and marriage interchangeably. So wedding is the event when we get married, and marriage is the institution. This is come for my marriage. For Americans, what do you mean? You want to come and stay till your home? So basically, we often use the word question and doubt interchangeably. Like I have a question, say I have a doubt. But actually, question, the Sanskrit word is prashna. And doubt is samshaya. And the two are not the same. So, prashna is actually encouraged. So, with Balama, when Parikshit Maharaj asked questions, Shukdev Goswami is actually pleased that your prashna is lokamangalam, lokahitam. So, that questions are good to have. It shows curiosity, it shows eagerness to learn. And that indicates that we are using our intelligence. Now, doubts are considered negative, but it's not doubts are also always considered negative. In the third canto, in the characteristics of intelligence, the first characteristic is described with doubt. The samshayo viparyasa, like that list goes on. So the idea is only an intelligent person will have doubts. A foolish person or unintelligent person will just believe whatever they are told. That's why there are so many advertisements. Advertise such foolish things. So, as I saw an ad of a water company, it says, we put the IQ in your water. Who will believe that drinking water will increase your IQ? It's such a ridiculously false. But believe that. Or they just don't think about it, rather than believe that. So it requires intelligence to think and come up with questions. The doubt itself is not a bad thing. Doubt is a characteristic of the intelligence. But the problem comes when we doubt as the only characteristic of the intelligence. That means we do nothing except doubt. So what the Bhagavatam says is doubt, maybe what I know or what I've been told is not right. The samshayo paryas. Okay. So Prabhupada gives the example. We are taught that we are our body. But then we get a doubt. Am I really my body? Then you think, actually when I sleep I dream, my body is here, but I experience so many other things. So maybe this is samshayo paryas. Oh, through my doubt it's the false understanding. And then nishchaya. I come to the correct understanding. Then smriti. We remember what we are learning. Now swapa is used. Swapa is when I say a dream, but swapa is also a dream in the sense of imagination. This is my dream, I would like to do it. So imagination is also something of intelligence. Some people have artistic imagination, some people have musical imagination, some people have verbal imagination. So these are all characteristics of intelligence. So doubt is also one among them. If somebody makes doubt the only characteristics of the intelligence, then it becomes a problem. That means they are doubting everything and they are not moving forward. Okay, this is wrong understanding, this is the right understanding. Move forward. So if you have questions, find out devotees who also have questions and try to make some connection with them and get your questions answered. So if only the doubts are stopping us or blocking us in our practice of work. What we do is, I also get many questions. So I have a list of questions which I have with me. And then I know different devotees are specialists in different fields. Some devotees specialists in Gaudiya Vaishnava history. Some devotees I know are specialists in history of religion. Some devotees are specialists in this particular field. So whenever I travel across the world, I meet them, I talk with them and I have those discussions. And they also enjoy it because those are not the kind of questions that they get to talk about with other people. So we make that arrangement. We don't let it block our devotion. Now that's the first part answer. The second part is with respect to Jagannath temple not allowing people say who are not Indians or not Hindus to come in. Well, there are two different things over here. See, historically, which specific practices originated when and for what reason? There are different historical tracing can be done. So one of the things which I have heard, which I have found the most persuasive till now, is that this is not so much meant for judging and condemning or rejecting certain groups of people. It is meant more for protecting them from offending the deities. Because in certain traditions, deity worship is, as I said, it's considered not only wrong, it's considered condemned. So in the Islamic tradition, the idolatry is called shirk. Shirk means associating anything material with Allah. Allah is completely spiritual, and it said that Allah can forgive even the sins of rape or murder, but Allah will never forgive the sin of idolatry. So it's considered the worst of sins. So now they have their own tradition. The concept of the deity and the idol, that differentiation is not there, and it's not so easy for them to understand it, given the particular cultural baggage that they carry. So what happens? That's why for them it's not just like a religious extremism; it's a religious duty for them. That this is a false god, and the false god's worship has to be stopped, so that the true God worship can be established. So because of this, now that I'm not saying that this is what all Muslims do, but this is a part of their conception of God. So because of that, historically many deities have been desecrated across the country, and so the idea is that some people who are not faithful, if they see the deities, that will only trigger their animosity and envy. So better don't let them see the deities. Better keep the deities away from them and then away from the deities. So now, over a period of time, certain rules become more rigid, and then where exceptions are worthy, the exceptions are also not good. So now Prabhupada said that in this particular rule, he's Jagannath, why are you making Bharat Math or Hindu Math or something like that? So Prabhupada was right in some ways, but at the same time, with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not insist that Haridas Thakur be allowed into the temple of Jagannath. So Mahaprabhu was in many ways devotionally liberal, but he was culturally conservative. Mahaprabhu was quite strict, say, as a sannyasi interacting with women. As a sannyasi, in whose house he would take food. He would take out, at that time it was expected, sannyasis take food only in the house of Brahmins. So when Mahaprabhu would travel, he was very liberal in embracing people and blessing them with the holy names, which are something sannyasis would not do. But he would do that. But embracing them and personally blessing them. He would be very, very liberal in that. He was conservative in some ways. So we, in one sense, defer to the local place. So is that the best thing? No, definitely not. Is there some rationale behind it? Yes, there is definitely some rationale. And hopefully some things will change over time. So right now many devotees who are devoted their lives to Jagannath, they are not allowed entrance into the temple. There's one devotee, who is close friend of Madhavananda Prabhu. He runs this Krishna Temple. He's got a huge library of books. He did such research in Lord Jagannath in Orissa and others Bengal. He's probably among the top 5 scholars of Jagannath in the world now. Not in the academic sense, but non-academic sense. He has got a big library where devotees come in. So he has literally practiced his whole life in Jagannath Puri. He has never been allowed Jagannath. And I talk with him. I say that I don't even have like 1,000 of the devotees for Jagannath that he has. So there has to be some exceptions. The Lord is Saragrahi. But now exactly how those exceptions get manifested, only Lord Jagannath knows that. Yes, Mataji. Yeah, where's the mic?
They are allowed to see during the Rayata, right?
Of course. Anyone can come and see.
Actually, my question is from the one of the morning sessions that we had. I didn't get a chance to ask. So one of the sessions, you gave an example of Krishna going for the peace treaty and having plans, plan A, plan B, plan C. But in bhakti, we should always surrender to Krishna. So how, I think this question I had, like, how can we understand this, having the plan A, plan B, plan C, and also fully surrendering to Krishna?
Can I surrender to Krishna and not answer this question? Okay. See, in surrender, there are two broad conceptions, and in the history of Bhakti itself, there is some debate about this. There is, do we surrender our intelligence or do we surrender with our intelligence? That means, do we just surrender? I put aside my intelligence and just Krishna, whatever is your will, I accept. Or do I surrender with my intelligence? Krishna, my intelligence is also a gift that you have given to me. And all my gifts that I have, I meant to use in your service. So even my intelligence is meant to be used in your service. So this can go elaborately into this. But in ordinary situations, we surrender with our intelligence. Most of the time when we are functioning, we are meant to use our intelligence to evaluate. Okay, should I do this? Should I do that? Which is anukul for my bhakti, which is pratikul for my bhakti. In the 6 limbs of bhakti itself, the first 2 are accept what is favorable, what is unfavorable. But who is going to determine that? Yes, we can say our guru will determine that for us, but our guru is not there with us all the time. So that responsibility is on us. In that sense, surrender is a little dynamic. So constantly we have to evaluate. So surrender with our intentions. But then there are extraordinary situations where with our intelligence we may just not be able to figure out anything. Then that is where we step out in the dark. It's like first normally we try to find out a path and then we move forward. So, okay, this is the service I want to do and this is the strategy I have for this service. And then we move forward. But even when we are going along that way, then what happens? Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work. So, I was talking with one of our senior leaders. He was talking with one of the devotees who had made a big plan on how to spread outreach in the West. So this Maharaj told him, I'm sure that you will be successful and your plans will be unsuccessful. So the idea is that we make plans, but life is too complicated to fit into any particular plan of ours. So the point he was making is that we make plans that show you a serious Krishna, but don't be too attached to the plans. So sometimes Krishna may open a door different from what we expected. Prabhupada himself said like he never expected to find his followers among the counterculture and the hippies. In one sense, they were the most unlikely of candidates for him. Prabhupada is a philosophical person, and he didn't get people who were educated. They were thoughtful people, intelligent people, but they were not like educated people, established elites in society or established leaders of society. Prabhupada found them. He saw that these are interested. And he focused on them. And he did extraordinary things for them. So in that sense, normally we use our intelligence, surrender. But when things don't seem to make any sense with our intelligence, then we surrender our intelligence.
Hare Krishna. Today actually I met somebody who is from Odisha, and then we were talking about Jagannath, and then he said that when Lord Krishna disappeared from this world, and then when the body was burned, and the heart was not burned, and somehow the ashes, or say, that was thrown in the Ganges, and that went into the log that was found, and from where the deities was carved. So it was a little very, like I was thinking, is it the appropriation of that, or this is the real story behind that?
I'll have to find out in this particular thing. I haven't heard about this. See, the Sindhu, there's 2 pramana there. There's a Shastra Praman and there's a Loka Praman. So Shastra Praman is what is given in the Shastra. But Loka Praman is that what is talked about by people who are respectable or respected. So if you go to Vrindavan, in each place there are many stories of Krishna. Those stories of Krishna may not be found in any of the Shastras or even the Acharya's commentaries, but they are a part of the social stories, and they are emotionally relishable and inclusive. I would say that this might be a lower command, but the thing is, you have to be careful what exactly is being implicated by this. There is an incident uh, where one devotee comes to Mahaprabhu and he says, he composes a poem where basically like he says, Jagannath is the form and Mahaprabhu is the soul, or vice versa, whatever he says. So Mahaprabhu's sister Damodar is very upset by that. He says, Jagannath is he is not different from his form. His body and soul is no different. You cannot separate him. This is inappropriate. So we have to be careful what is being implied. So I would not outright accept the story, nor would I reject the story. We have to investigate it. In general, there are lots of stories that have become associated with many deities. It's not that we can immediately say. We may have to ask devotees who are well researched in that field, and based on that we decide. Stories of miracles, especially recent miracles, I take them personally with a little pinch of salt. Like almost every deity in India, they have associate them some story of some miraculous, some aggressors came and the deity manifested something, some miraculous happened, and those aggressors went away, or those aggressors had a transformation of heart, or something like that. Now there are some people who claim that Aurangzeb donated something to Jagannath. Now maybe, but as far as I have studied, I found the historical evidence to be very thin. So there's no evidence that Aurangzeb had any change of heart toward the end of his life. But the key thing is, it's like when we say all these miraculous things happened, what are we trying to do by this? We are only, in one sense, one side is we are, if every story of miraculous intervention of the deities were true, it's like different from your answer. But if every story of the miraculous intervention by the deities to punish the aggressors or to repel the aggressors were true, then actually no deity would ever have been desecrated in this history. That is certainly not the history. Lots and lots of horrendous things have happened. And second, so why should we minimize the gravity of the history? And secondly, when we start telling these kind of stories, we start raising people's expectation that something like that will happen in their lives. So, and then when something bad happens and then there's no miraculous intervention, they start asking, where is Krishna? So, Prabhupada in general was not too much into miracles, the miraculous stories. Prabhupada would talk about even generally Prabhupada would not talk much about kathas, talk more about philosophy. But whenever we talk about stories, it's not so much centered on understanding so many miracles and that's why he's God. That's not the mood. So I think that it is nice to hear the reciprocation of love with Krishna and devotees. But when we bring miracles, then we have to be a little careful. What is the effect? What are we implying and what is the effect on those who are living? Thank you.
Hare Krishna, let us conclude. Let's thank His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu with 3 round enthusiastic Haribol. It often happens that a vacuum is created. Devotees fill our lives and then when they leave for some time there is a vacuum created. So we all will feel that. I am already feeling the vacuum that some of us are going to Ayodhya and Prabhuji will go on to Warangal and from there and then maybe once more he'll come here and then I'm standing in front of you. Yeah. So we'll invite Prabhuji once again. Prabhuji, please take your time to give us. You travel around the world. More than I think any corporate person travels like the way Prabhuji is in ISKCON travel. Actually, this kind of schedule, country after country, city after city, even within Hyderabad. I don't think we ourselves visit so many centers that they visit, that they come here, different places giving discourses. But Prabhuji, your discourses are, they leave a lasting impression, especially the way you connect with using those words, some situations and something that you want to mention, like you just made us accidental beneficiaries. Now I have a prayer in front of Jagannath. Please take care of the accidental beneficiaries. It's like really, I'm please excuse me for asking this, but can you share when did you know who you are? Like, when did you know who you are in this aspect of putting across in words and like I mean, we all have come up in life, we have different talents and skills, but there might be some point in your life you felt, my God, this is something special you have and you're just putting it in Krishna's service, and because it's not ordinary what you're doing, like, it's extraordinary. If you look at from our eyes, we all feel so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Place with the words.
Huh?
Place with the words.
Yeah, self-congratulation. What is it? It will remain forever. The problem is, see the other side of the coin is, recently in my company, there was a big project, and my boss was very happy. And he came and told, finally, I hit the finance. So we signed the deal, it's all. And suddenly the word that comes to me, don't self-congratulate yourself. Because I had always like, I said, what did you say? No, I didn't mean like that. I mean, like, we have to go, we have to show it to a lawyer, then we have to see, make sure all liability clauses are clear. Okay, but, we have to celebrate. And say, yes, celebrate. So there is a lasting impression of those words, they're very impactful. But something unique about you, Prabhuji, that you, if I may ask, I don't know how to frame the question, but your connection of this skill to Krishna and you using it is very conscious, we can feel that. And how do you feel about it?
Yeah, and actually I was an accidental beneficiary. This crossword was publishing a series of books on 365 quotes by Martin Luther King, 365 quotes by Gandhi, 365 quotes by Shakespeare. Like that, they wanted to publish 365 quotes from Bhagavad Gita. And they came to me and they said, then I said, the Bhagavad Gita has a world view that is inspiring. But you take one verse from the Bhagavad Gita, it is not itself inspiring because the philosophy, the verses are tied into the philosophy. So out of context. So I told him that this will not work, but I can try to phrase the wisdom of the Gita verses in some quotes, and I can give it to you. So I had selected some articles from the Gita, some from the Gita articles, and I wrote something and I gave it to him. And I forgot also that's one of the books that I wrote. I forgot about it completely. That I wrote the book. And then after about 4 months, the crossword group sent me a picture, and they said that it's, at least in the Bombay store, this is among the top 5 bestsellers. So I was completely amazed. I said, there's nothing in this book at all because it's just a set of quotes. But then I thought maybe this is something special. Then some of my college friends, they said, I got this book. One of my college friends said, my son, he's reading this book and he wants to meet the author. And then I came to know it is you, so I wants to meet. So different people started appreciating it. So then I made that book into a calendar then. Yes. And then I tried this is the second calendar like that. So I think this is the time when I discovered it. So I'm still learning how to use it. It's like for me, just like for a pujari, flowers are what we use to try to make the garlands and make the Lord's beauty manifest through the garlands. So for me, words are like flowers, and you know. So, like whenever I travel, I'm always looking at the advertisement. I don't even notice the image. I look at the words. And I see what are the words. I'm omnivorous with respect to words. So, yes, somehow Krishna has given me that ability. I'm still struggling. Not struggling. I'm still discovering how best to use it. So this poetry is also something which I'm now trying out. Short verses to compose because in the Bhakti tradition spread in India primarily through its vernacularization. That is, in the vernacular languages, songs were composed and sayings were made, and that's what spread it. So, to some extent, we may need to do a presentation of Bhakti in the English languages. So, there is, of course, Prabhupada written books, and they were writing books, but there is writing as a craft and there is writing as an art. Writing as a craft means writing is a tool for conveying the message. But writing as an art is where it's not just what is written, but it's also how it is written. So that's the art form. That I think there's a lot more to be done. And I'm trying to explore various ways. So let's see what Krishna has in store. There's one devotee who was before he came to Bhakti, he was a Christian songwriter. And he told me that it's many of the youth, they are attracted to Christianity through Christian songs. There are some, like we have in the Hindu tradition, Bhakti Kirtaniyas are very popular. So they are these Christian songs, and he said that he saw some of my quotes. He told me that if you compose poems, I will render them as songs, and then we can try to reach to a Western audience. That's something which we are trying out now, Krishna. So you give your blessing so that I can use whatever gift Krishna has given.
Without time, one loud Hare Krishna Mahamantra, lifting your hands for Prabhuji's endeavor, every endeavor will be success.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
So this is a beautiful calendar. There are only few left, and if we want, we can take all of it and go home. It's a great gift to give to anyone.
Yes.
First, you can have it on your own table. And what better gift can you buy for 200, 300, 400 rupees these days, right? But this is the best gift. If you can see, just May 23rd, but I didn't pick it, he just gave it. People who can't face books find escape in Facebook. Seek shelter in the spiritual, not in the virtual. Inspired by Bhagavad Gita 16:24. So there's so many like this, I just turned, When faced with competitors, the insecure fixate on comparing, the secure focus on learning. So Bhagavad Gita 15:7. So it's a beautiful, something that you can buy, have 10 of these in your house, and every time you have to give a gift. Why do you have to give something which may not be relevant? How many times it happened to you? I don't know, it happened to me many times. When I'm going through some difficult phase or a confusion, and that morning a quote comes or I open something and it just gives me the right answer and done.
Yes, yes.
Right? So here are Krishna's answers for all our future problems. I just have to have it with you to open it. Right? So please grab these before you go. You can make the
This
payment.
is different from the calendar I brought last time.
Yes.
This is a different set of quotes.
Yeah. So there are multiple calendars now. So this year, Prabhuji has released. So one more thing I would like to say here is, when Prabhuji was here, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So when Prabhuji was here last time, he went to Subhara Prabhu's office and he gave a lecture there. And just now Subhara Prabhu was telling, with permission of Madhav Prabhu, Madhav ji is standing there, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, thank you. So people go and take shelter of God in many, many situations. Prabhuji's situation was different. But before Prabhuji, let me tell about Saraswati Mataji and Surendra Prabhu, that they were craving for a child for a long, long time after marriage. Some of us had child right after marriages, but not everybody goes through that. They went through a lot, and I personally have seen them going through a lot. Can't tell the details, but finally, they went to Barsana, and in Barsana, in front of Ladli Mandir, my wife was there and said very intensely to Radharani that she gives a devotee in your house, and so appeared Akshaya, whose first birthday we are celebrating yesterday. Prabhu and Saraswati Mati, both of them are standing. Very difficult times. It's not easy, Prabhu, when you have 10 plus years, waiting, and such a beautiful soul has come. Definitely Krishna sent. Of this there is no doubt, right from Varsana. Very good. In the same way, last time Prabhuji went to give a lecture in Prabhuji's office. Mother Prabhu is here, his two children are here. I don't want to point them and show, but they were having past life memories. Right? I heard a little bit that they used to get up in the night, cry, sit on the floor and shout, "Don't shoot me, don't shoot me." It's so difficult for the parents to deal. They know what, no medicine can cure this, no logical answer can answer this. But Prabhuji told, take shelter of Nashingar. And then Subbarao Prabhu spent some time with, I don't know the full story, I'm just a little bit, Prabhuji. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. It's a very, just imagine your child getting up 2 o'clock in the night, sitting on both the children, shouting and crying, "Don't shoot me." Right? Something like that. And for parents, can you sleep? It's sleepless life. So in that situation, see how Prabhuji came here, he met Prabhuji told, take shelter of Nrsimhadev. How to take shelter of Nrsimhadev? Prabhuji said, why don't you have a Nrsimha kavach on them, right? And then chant the Nrsimha Stotram, read a Bhagavatam. They read all that, it's completely gone.
There you go.
We're not here spreading some miracles to show how miracles do happen when we have faith, right? And people who question about does previous life exist, give me a good logical scientific answer. What were the children doing in the night? Such small children, one child is sitting beside you, behind you. What do you think, made them think so? But what I'm trying to tell is that may not be the triggering point of our faith. But understand that if we have eyes to see, if we have heart to listen and accept the realities in front of us, that this is not our first life, and this may not be our next life, and there can be a lot ahead. So whatever we do in this life to please God is eternal, and Prabhupada has given so many mediums and ways to express that, and Prabhuji beautifully explained the fame of Jagannath Katha. And I want to heartily congratulate, and I don't know how many more times to congratulate and late, that every single Rath Yatra was the most vibrant Rath Yatra people have seen in their lives. And how the Rath moved, Jagannath Prabhu is not here, he was behind moving the Rath, Prabhuji is there, Praveen Prabhu. Moving the Raths was not easy. 3 Raths, 20 Rath Yatras, 3 days. How they were moving, finishing at one place, going to another place, getting started, the night movement is happening, right? And all the paraphernalia that has to go with the Rath, even though they were not very small Raths either, pretty high, 21 feet, if I'm right, at the topmost. Yeah. And finally, all the 3 Raths coming at center, right? Never done, never seen, all pulling all the 3 Raths together, and just happened, right? And that was the most remembered Rath Yatra after all the Rath Yatra. In fact, one of the devotees told me, I don't remember who said, Prabhu, I think everybody is getting exhausted with all of the Rath Yatras, and now nobody is there for Bhakti Center, or people will be very tired for Bhakti Center. I think we should do it in the beginning, because that way more, we all will be focused, and then we can do the individual. All that is right. Another thing, but Jagannath had a different plan. God, he had a big plan. Everybody's bags, all the L2, L3, C1, C2, everything was twisted already by the time this Rath Yatra started, right? I mean, like, crazy. People are dancing whole day from morning till night, and next day. 20 Rath Yatras back to back, and then finally Bhakti Center, everybody is down, And then this becomes the epitome, the pinnacle of all the Yatras. Unbelievable. You know? And Prabhu, 80% of the people who came to pull these 3 rats, we don't even know who they are. And I've heard that Devatas come to pull Jagannath Rath. I'm not, no, it might be. It might be, I don't know who they are, and I've not seen them again also. They came that day, and the way they pulled the Rath was not an ordinary way of pulling. Jagannath poured that day, you know, like it was pouring, like, you know, the Govardhan Leela of, you know, the pillar of water falling down. It was like literally pillars of water falling down. At one point, our knees, water was till our knees. The small Rath, Jagannath, water was touching Jagannath in the small Rath. Then they reverted the small Rath and said, no, we don't want to bathe Jagannath in this water. Water came everywhere. Gautami enclave was flooded. People were doing all this, and some Matajis were going and plucking leaves and branches and making rangoli in that rain with leaves and flowers. This Prabhuji's Rath Yatra, he was thinking who will come for Pahandi. He did in Ramalayam, you know, one way he was speaking there. 1,000 people came for Pahandi. Pahandi, 1,000 people you are saying. I don't think in a temple also so many people come for Pahandi. Maybe 200, 300, right? 1,000. And then the Rath goes, as crazy it can get. 5 o'clock the Rath Yatra starts, supposed to get over at 7, 12 o'clock it gets over in the night. Right? And still people are thinking, you know, they are still eager for more. Right? None of us, you Rath Yatra can do this. And the image of 3 Raths together, I think we all are satisfied already doing this. We don't need any recognition or any word, or we're already crazily, you know, satisfied in this project. Really, I don't have words to say. But every single society, the challenges you face, the sleepless nights you had, you know, the kind of battles we fought for it to happen in today's day and time, Jagannath has reciprocated at the end, in the final Rath Yatra, by pouring his mercy right from top to bottom. Everybody were drenched, right? And I'm already eager. Are you eager for the next Rath Yatra? Very eager. You know, today one gentleman from RSS, he came and told, I have attended this Rath Yatra. I don't know what you'll do. I want in my society. You tell me what to do. I said, we'll do. We'll work together. Whatever it takes. Because it's a festival that brings together, that makes us to dance together, that makes us pull God together. Something about it. And trust me, the way this festival is increasing in our society. Just today I heard from probably, you know, in Gurgaon, there is 11 Rath Yatras. Amazing. You know, and in Bhakti Prem Maharaj, so the Bhakti Prem Maharaj, 17 Rath Yatras in Ujjain. What is one or two, right? It's just going. And we have done, I don't know, whatever, 20. And goal is to take it to 108 in the next coming years. Yes, we can. Can we? Yes. Yes, we can. Right? We need more Raths. We want to construct more Raths. We will have more parking places for those Raths. We'll have more coordinators for those Raths. And the whole event, the way it was planned, that Excel sheet is the craziest Excel sheet to see how the 20 Raths were being managed. You know, Rath Yatras, Prashadam, Kirtans, everybody being distributed, speakers. Oh, Krishna. But meetings, crazy meeting, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the night after all the office. But all said and done, it was a great, you know, endeavor. We all should be grateful to Jagannath that he made it happen in our lives. And it should happen again and again and again. Right? So just be charged up, and today's lecture of fame of Jagannath should increase our vigor, our desire to serve Jagannath in an even more better way in the coming days. And we have written an article to Back to Godhead. You know, someone suggested it. We have written an article, and I sent it to Prabhuji also. Just something composed, typed, and I was actually very scared to send my English, my article to Prabhuji. Towards that, but Prabhuji said it's fine, and he gave us small corrections. I did some, but it's so nice, and this is a culmination of everyone's efforts. Right? It was a joint festival, many festivals that brought us all together, and many more miracles to happen in our lives. Right? Through Jagannath, through Lord Sri Krishna, Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Jagannath Subhadramaya, Sri Gaur Nitai, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada. So I would just request Akshay to be brought here, and Surendra Prabhu and Saraswati Mati quickly they just cut the cake, let's sing a traditional song, and then we all get up and do Gaura. Okay? So let's thank once again His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu with 3 words suggesting. You all can stay where you are. Don't get up, please. Just 2 more minutes, so everybody can see, the special child, being blessed by Srimati Radharani. She is among us, and they are doing a birthday celebration. Yes. Can someone go and help with the cake, please? Please, Jagannath Katha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
We request Mataji and his parents be here and let all the kids go back. Please don't touch.
Hare Krishna to you.
All the kids.
Hare Krishna to you.
Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Rama to you. Hare Rama to you. Hare Rama to you. Hare Rama to you. Mancha Karu Vyasa. Vipasito
May you never take but the cane.
Hare Krishna to you.
Hey!
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
మంచిగా తింటుంది.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mataji.
సరే దండం
Hare
Charan Thank you.